Tom Coyne has spent the better part of 2 decades doing something most golfers only dream about, playing the world's greatest courses and then writing about them with enough honesty, humor, and heart to land on the New York Times bestseller list more than once. His journey began with a novel, A Gentleman's Game, named one of the 25 best sports book of all time by the Philadelphia Daily News. Are they still in business?
I think so.
Okay. And adapted into a film starring Gary Sinise. From there, he took a sharp turn into memoir, attempting to qualify for the PGA Tour in Paper Tiger, and then walking the entire perimeter of Ireland while playing every links course in the country for a course called Ireland. Scotland followed, then America. By the time the trilogy was complete, he had played 295 courses across all 50 states and established himself as the most adventurous storyteller in golf. Tom's latest book, A Course Called Home, finds him doing something he's never done before, staying put. At the urging of a local superintendent, hoping to save a century-old 9-hole course from closing, Coyne bought Sullivan County Golf and Country Club in Liberty, New York, discovered that owning a golf course is an entirely different game than playing one. When he's not writing books, Tom is editor and podcast host at the Golfer's Journal, runs CoyneGolf Travel, and is partner in a golf course design firm. He lives outside Philadelphia with his wife and two daughters. Tom Coyne, welcome to the MGWA podcast.
Gordon, what a generous introduction.
Hey, you know what?
I can't thank you. I can't. That's the nicest things you've ever said about me, all together. My friend.
We are gonna dig into the past at the end of this because I'm gonna give you some payback.
Good.
So
good.
Before we talk about your new book, because I'm really interested in knowing what happened with that eggplant controversy and whether Jimmy and John ever read the book and found out about the nasty.
Well, these are big questions.
Okay.
I know.
And then I'll need to find out why you hate vegetables. So at any rate, I did read the book. So at any rate,
you did.
Your first book, Gentleman's Game, was a novel, and you came out of the box. You wrote that as part of your master's program, right?
It was my master's thesis. Yeah.
Okay. And pretty quickly you found an agent, you got a book published, and you got a film deal. So most writers would have chased the novel road, but you went in another direction, into memoir.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say travel writing, because you're not really a travel writer. You just happen to be traveling. It's more a memoir than anything else.
Yes.
Okay. Can you talk about why you took that detour?
Yeah, that's a good question, Gordon. You're starting off with a good question.
They get worse. They get worse.
Well done. Well done. No, thanks for having me, man. It's great. It's just going to be fun to catch up with you. It's been a bit. But that's, I was trained as a fiction writer, went to a fiction writing program, and went there to write the great American novel, or get published in the New Yorker and all that stuff. And I started writing about caddies, and I finally started writing about things I knew something about, golf and caddies and that setting. And we had the novel, but we finished that. The book comes out, movie comes out, enjoyed by dozens around the world, and we got to the point where, and I spent a few years after that trying to write a second novel, and not a golf novel. And I don't know, it got to the point where I realized, like, everything I knew about life at that point, 24, 25 years old, was, well, one, it wasn't much, and two, it was all in the novel. There wasn't a story, bursting out of me to be told, at least in terms of fiction. And that's what you need to write a novel. You have to have something that you're so invested in and passionate about. And it wasn't really happening. And I thought, well, why don't I go out and live some more life so that I have something to write about? So that got me to the point of, all right, if I could do anything, if I could go have any adventure in golf, what would it, or in life, really, what would it be? And I'm a golfer, and so it was, take my shot at playing golf at the next level, see how good I could get if I had everything that the pros had. And so I pitched my publisher on doing nonfiction. And what I liked about nonfiction, and I hadn't done a ton of it, a little bit as in undergrad, writing for, the school magazine and stuff like that. But what I liked about that process is that when you pitch a nonfiction book, you write a book proposal. And when you pitch a novel, you generally write the novel, and then see if anybody likes it. So that's, 5 years of your life versus a book proposal that you can write in a couple weeks. So when I learned about that, I was like, oh, this is cool. And so I wrote a book proposal for Paper Tiger, and said I'm going to go and get a coach and a shrink and a trainer and a sponsor and all the things that the pros have, and I'm going to see how good, like a regular golfer can get in that environment. I mean, I was a decent player when I was younger, hadn't played seriously in a long time when I embarked on Paper Tiger. So crazy enough, they said, that sounds great, you should go for it. And suddenly I was, and then I was in the nonfiction world. And once I got like my feet into that world, and people seemed to like it, enough people liked it. You only get the next book if enough people read the last one. But they did, and so that process of, okay, I just come up with the idea, and then I get to go out and do it. That was just really appealing. I was getting to live out my golf dreams, and I was inviting the reader to come along with me to have these adventures. And that seemed like to be a good formula, as long as I was able to pull it off in a way that wasn't like self-indulgent or, that actually made people feel like they were there with me and getting to do these crazy things without having to quit their jobs or leave their family or any of those sorts of things.
Who paid for the coach and the trainer and all the other? I mean, you weren't working at the time, right? That was a full-time endeavor.
The Pennsylvania Lottery paid for no. You get So I basically, what was funny with Paper Tiger, I took my advance, and so when your book proposal is accepted and you have a book deal, you get an advance. Oh, cool. And so I took that advance and spent it all on playing golf. So I don't know if I made a dollar on that book. But man, I lived a great life for a couple of years. So, that's become a running theme with me and my wife is, can you try not to spend all the book money on doing the book? And, I've gotten slightly better at that, but I don't know. We'll see how the next book does to see if it pays off Sullivan County Golf Club.
So that took 2 years? That whole...
Yeah, I played Paper Tiger was, I think, something like 542 consecutive days of golf. So, yeah, and then, some time to write it and get it out into the world. So, yeah, that was a good chunk of time. But, man, what a great life that was. That was before kids, before marriage, and just living like a completely selfish idiot in Florida. Just waking up every morning, all I had to do was get better at golf, which is like a dream, and then it's a nightmare when you start to get worse. So, yeah, both sides of the coin there.
So what did you learn about golf, and what did you learn about writing in the process?
Yeah, I learned a lot about golf. I learned the golf swing. I worked with Dr. Jim Suddy, who worked with a lot of guys on the tour, and is a great teacher and was, using biomechanics and film before anyone else was. And so I really learned the science of why my body does certain things that others can't, that others, I can't do what other people do, but what I can do, and learning how to maximize that. And so I learned a lot about the golf swing. I learned that there's a huge difference between recreational golf and competitive golf. There might as well be two different sports, because when someone announces your name on a tee box and you're teeing it up and you have to putt everything out and you're playing against guys who play for a living, that's a very different world, and it's very difficult one. It was a difficult one for me to get comfortable in. Because I don't want to spoil the ending of the book for anyone, but they might notice that I'm here talking to you and not getting ready to play in the next PGA Tour event. But this is where I would rather be, Gordon.
Okay.
Let it be said.
So,
So yeah, I learned a lot about golf. Yeah, for sure.
talk to me about the transition from Paper Tiger to a course called Ireland, the first of the trilogy. How long was it, and was that something you thought of and pitched as a book?
Yeah, it was. It was. It wasn't very long after finishing Paper Tiger. I was planning a golf trip with some friends, and I'd been going to Ireland to play golf since I was a kid. If anyone's watching this with my flaming red hair, you might be able to tell that there's some Irish heritage.
Ginger.
Yeah, I'm a ginger through and through. So it was left to me to plan the trip because I knew my way around Ireland a little bit, and I had a golf map of Ireland printed out in my room, and and it's ringed with like a flag for all the courses, and it's just ringed all the way around with all these great golf courses, and the map started to look like a golf course to me, and I let that kind of sit for a little bit and thought, all right, what if I actually, I wanted to do a Golf in Ireland book, but instead of doing this part or that part or this course or the top courses or whatever, like what if I just did all of it? And then when you play golf in Ireland, especially at that time, you didn't take a cart. You couldn't get a cart anywhere. You can get it now. You can get more than before, but
I mean, a pull cart.
Like a cart, a buggy, if you will.
Okay.
You could get. A lot of the courses didn't even have buggies. Most of them do now, but so I would walk it, and not just the golf, but if I was going to play a course called Ireland and play the country as one giant golf course, I would walk between the courses. So like some days the idea was like the next tee would be from here to the door. Sometimes the next tee was like from here to Pittsburgh. It felt like, at least, that could be 30, 40, 50 miles away. So in some of the more remote parts of the country. And that was a cool way to do it. It was a kind of a gimmick, right? Like in pitching it, it was like, I'm going to go walk the coast of Ireland with golf clubs strapped to my back and live to tell the tale. But it ended up, and which probably helped sell the book, and that was great, and that gave me some money to go off and do it. But it ended up being, I think, the most important part of the story, because it meant that I had to sort of stop and stay in places where tourists didn't stop and stay. And I had a 20-mile leash every day, so I was finding myself in places and in situations that wouldn't be typical for a trip or a golf trip to Ireland. And that was, I think that gave me some insights that hopefully made the book a little different than standard travel fare.
Yeah. You made a lot of friends with courses over there, right? I mean, because
I did.
The result of the book was that it drew a lot of golfers over there, right? It came out at the right time for sure, because, golf in Ireland has absolutely exploded. But, I did this like 2007, so the end of the Celtic Tiger, and golf in Ireland, people were knowing about it. There were more tour companies doing it, but it wasn't what it was like today. So I could still, in going over there, there were all, as we say, these hidden gems, right? There were all these courses that nobody had heard about, right, that were blowing my mind. So some of those courses are very well known today, like Coyne and Ardglass. But at the time, they didn't get as many visitors as they do now. So to be able to write, those are probably the courses I write about the most in the book, and the effect that they had on me and how much I loved them. And it was really great. The book came out, and I started hearing from Ardglass and from Coyne, like, yo, people are showing up here. Well, they didn't say yo because they're Irish, but they'd say people are showing up here with your book. Like, they're following in your footsteps. They want to play Ardglass. They want to play Coyne, and that was amazing. It was humbling, and like it just blew me away. Yeah.
And it was awesome. And then they made me lifetime members at those wonderful places, because the book was having a positive impact, and that wasn't my intention. It was just a beautiful side I just wanted to write a story that someone beside my mother would read. But what a wonderful side effect of that it got people over to some places that wouldn't get the traffic of, say, like a Ballybunion or a Lahinch.
Yeah. So, were you married at the time, Ireland?
Freshly married. I was. No kids, though.
Okay.
Yes.
So, how soon after that did you do Scotland? the Scotland book?
There was a big gap between the two. And part of it was me. It seemed like just too obvious to do a course called Ireland and then do a course called Scotland. I needed to find a different way to tell. The story had to be different, and I wasn't going to walk Scotland either.
Yeah.
So, I didn't want to write the same book twice. And I also personally, I wasn't playing golf again. I had to get my life together. I had to get sober. There was a lot of stuff happened in the interim. I had kids.
Yeah.
So I put it off for a long time, and then it occurred to me that I've been searching. The thing that Paper Tiger had was me searching for the secret to golf, my best golf, which I never really quite found. And I said, if there is a secret to golf, it has to be in Scotland, and I'm going to go look for it. And so that meant I had to go play every links in Scotland and every course to ever host an Open. So I go down to England for some of it. I go up to to the islands, and I go up to Shetland and the Orkneys and the Outer Hebrides and all that. Waiting for someone to whisper into my ear the secret to golf,
Right.
which somebody did, but I can't reveal it on this podcast. Of course, they have to buy the book to learn the secret to golf.
Yes, I've read it twice, so I know the secret twice. Okay,
Thank you.
Then, well, first you were married then, and you were
Yes.
gone for a long time, right?
I was gone. Ireland was 4 months. Scotland was 110, or no, it was 54 days. Or something.
Okay. Did your wife come over at any point and visit?
Yeah, it was pretty nice,
Okay.
and I timed it so that in the middle, when I was in St. Andrews, I had family come over, and because I knew when I dropped my bags in St. Andrews that I'd be staying in one place for a little while, because there's so much golf to do. So yeah, they were there for that part.
Have other countries approached you and asked you to do a similar kind of book?
Not the countries specifically. It would be wonderful if they did, because that always helps and makes things easier when you have some help from the powers that be. But I've certainly heard from a lot of Canadians, a lot of Australians, and once in a while an Italian or a French person or something telling I have to go over and do a course called France. But a course called Canada would be interesting. It's just too big.
Yeah.
It's so big,
Yeah.
and the season's short.
Yeah.
The book would take forever.
But that kind of
cold.
grassroots input is what kind of drove you to decide on a course called America, right? Weren't you getting a lot of readers saying, hey, why don't you do your hometown, your home grounds?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of people were like, hey, you've got to do a course called New Jersey, a course called Long Island, and they sounded like really good ideas. They probably sounded more like magazine stories, but it actually, so that combined with the fact that I started to realize that I didn't know golf in my own country very well.
Yeah.
I'd become this sort of Irish and Scottish links snob, and where that's the purest form of the game and the greatest expression of golf. And I just didn't know. I grew up in the Philly section. We're spoiled for choice. It's like all the great golf in my mind is right here. I don't need to go here, to all these other places. And so my American golf travel was quite poor. And it was I should go out and not only learn about golf in America, but go out and learn about America. Because it's 2019 and I'm sitting on the couch and I'm assuming that I can tell you everything about someone that lives in Texas.
Right.
Or Colorado or California, because the news tells me. It's I should go out and meet these people.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did.
Yeah. Had the Golfer's Journal started at that point? What year did that start?
So, gosh, we're on issue 30. It's almost 9 years ago. So, yeah, the Journal had started. I was not full-time on the staff at that point. It was early days in the Journal, but some of the places I found I ended up writing about in the Journal at the same time. A place like Wawashkimo up in Mackinac Island.
Right.
So some of those stories were trickling into the magazine, which was great.
Yeah, that's why I asked. And by the way, that pile of journals in the back there, I have a pile like that. Is there a secondary market? Can I make $600 off of my past issues?
You cannot. you're only allowed to recommend to your friends that they subscribe and start building their own pile, but not for resale.
Okay.
They can buy them on golfersjournal.com.
Okay. Let's talk about a pivot to home.
Yeah.
I'm a little confused. I didn't understand if the origin of that book was that call from Sean, or the text, whatever he sent you, telling you about this ragged course up in Liberty, New York that was almost 100, and he was looking for somebody to help save the course, or if that was an idea that you had to go find a course and do something with it or own it for a while.
Yeah. No, I wasn't looking to buy a golf course. No. It definitely started with Sean. Now, at the same time, when Sean reached out, which Sean reaches out, he's a superintendent, says, hey, this 100-year-old course is going to close, and would you be interested in writing about it, or do you know someone who could invest or whatever? I thought it sounded like maybe a magazine story. The Catskills sounded interesting. I knew of the Catskills, but I couldn't find them on a map, which is pathetic because I live in Philadelphia, but they were north. It's like they're up there. So, no, it definitely started with Sean inviting me up there, me seeing it. And I mean, at the time I did have a book deal, and I didn't without an idea. So I was actively fishing around for ideas, but it wasn't going to be anything until Sean introduced me to the current owners, who are great guys and just couldn't kind of make the golf part go. And they said, hey, you can just have it. You can run it for a year with an option to buy, and just cover all the expenses, and you just take it over entirely and see what you can do with it. So that's how I ended up saying, yeah, I think I can do that. And that's how we got involved in it.
You said yes you had already decided that there was a book in this, that there was a story to be told.
Yeah, I once I came back from that visit, I told my editor, I was like, this is the book that I want to write. I want to write a book about trying to run a golf course and save a golf course. And, and it made sense, because for me, I wasn't going to do another travel book. This was going to allow me to be in one place and not too far from home, and a place where the family could be together over the summer and have a nice summer running a golf course together. And so all those pieces were really important. And also it was like, I'd been a golf consumer forever, and it seemed, and I'd gotten so much from golf. Like, golf has given me so much, but I've been on the other, the consuming side of the counter. And what if I got on the other side of the counter and tried to provide golf? So there was something that spiritually it felt right, for me to make that change and to try and save a course and create golf for other people. So all those pieces just kind of came together, and also, of course, Allison was totally into it. She's like, oh, we could have a restaurant, we could do this. She started doing the flowers, and it was fun. It was something. It sounded fun.
Yeah.
And gosh, what if we even made a little bit of money? How about that?
Yeah.
That could be crazy. So, then we were off.
So here's what I found funny, and these are in your own words from the book. You claim to have arranged your life to take as little shit as possible and to create a life that didn't rely on others. And here you found yourself in a situation where you, for the first time, you're managing people, you're making a payroll, you're finding investors, you're worrying about the community, thinks about the changes you're making. So, I mean, talk about stepping in something that you never had to deal with before. This was a real life-changing experience, right?
Hugely, right? I mean, most of it, like you said, I'd arranged, my life had gotten to a point where I kind of, it's me in the keyboard, and I liked it that way. And I do a lot of other stuff, but at the end of the day, it was all that other stuff was sort of secondary to the writing and the stories and going out and doing the things that I was interested in. And I was certainly interested in operating a golf course. That's a very interesting thing. But it comes with all these other things, right? Like, yeah, you're responsible for, you have employees and people's livelihoods and guests to please. And and you're in management and you're in customer service. Like what? But I was suddenly in customer service and wanted customers to be happy. And I guess, as an author, you don't want people to hate your books, but you can't really do anything about it. And once they're out there in the world, they're living their own life, and hopefully people are nice to it. But you're on to the next thing. Yeah. And there was a lot more. The stakes were very different, and I had to be, and I've still had to learn how to manage people. I'm not good at it.
Mow the grass. I mean, you had to do a lot of
I have to mow the grass
stuff, right? And I had a laugh. I wrote down, you called yourself at one point in the book a soft-handed writer, and I'm thinking, what does it mean by that? Then I realized you meant that your hands never get dirty and you don't have calluses. You're just a soft-handed job. But as a writer, I would think that the great part of that role that you played was there were a lot of characters, and there were a lot of stories with those characters, the people reporting to you that worked with you and for you. It's pretty
that was the wonderful part of it, right? Yeah. Is like, because so many of these books have been kind of like hit and run storytelling. Like I'm in one place and I find a character and they do something interesting and I tell a story and I'm off to the next place. Or someone would visit with me for a bit and they'd have a character arc and they'd leave. Ireland is different than when they came, and that's fine. But they would never be in more than 10 pages of the book. So now I have the chance to tell Sean's story over the course of 3 years. And I can have the chance to get to know the assistant superintendent, and my relationship with the pro shop guys changes over time. And as I'm struggling to manage people, and when I said I'm not good at it, it's because like my strategy was just generally like, let's all be friends, right? Let's be buddies and have a good time. Yeah. And then it gets real. You end up buying the place.
Sorry about that.
The Pipes of Scotland.
I thought it was off. Sorry.
That's the other book. So you're friends with these people, and they're like your family, but then you realize you're like, wait a second, who's the boss here? Wait, that's me.
Yeah, in your own words, you had to be the asshole, right?
I had to be the asshole. I don't like being the asshole.
You want to be,
but
you want to be
I guess
liked.
Yes, you do. Yeah. You want, I'm in a profession that is very enabling for a people pleaser. Yeah. And you can't please everybody when you're trying to make something like this happen and be successful.
Now, during that trial year, there must have been, because you had literally, I think the book opens where you're cleaning clods of dirt out of the mower, okay? So, I mean, you were really into it. There must have been a point or points where you said, I'm not doing this. I'm finished.
Yeah. There were times, there were definitely times when I felt like I shouldn't be doing this. Like, trying to fix a mower or just destroying a fairway with that mower. Where I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. But I get to ride this big machine. That's cool. So there were lots of like, I'm a fish out of water, which is good as a storyteller. Like, you'd love being a fish out of water because everything becomes interesting and you're exciting, and there's just so much more story in that than being in a comfortable environment. So, in these new roles, I was uncomfortable all the time, and I think that led to a lot of like interest and funny things to write about. But I wasn't giving up. There was never a moment where I'm like, I'm out. Because of Sean. This really became about our friendship and us relying on each other. And I just talked to him, before I came on the podcast. We talk all the time, getting ready for a big season up there. And, and that's, and we're in this. And that's like, I'm so grateful for that. Like, I don't have, like, again, going back to this being a solitary profession, like, I don't have that many. I have great colleagues and friends at the Golfers Journal for sure. But like people who I'm absolutely relying on, and who are relying on me, not just in terms of the work, but, jobs and livelihoods and stuff like that, So there's like a connection and a bond there that is, that's very real and that I'm very grateful for and that I was probably missing in my life.
Yeah. I know that you've told me in the past that you're superstitious. So
I'm a little stitious.
okay, so you don't want to make any projections on, because this is a very different book from the Course Called series, right? So
Sure,
so you
it is.
have any qualms or trepidation about how well this book's going to do?
I think there's always trepidation when you're about to release a book because, there's a point where, it's about to go out in X number of copies and you realize like only 4 people have read it or a few dozen people,
Five.
reviewers, whatever, five exactly. So it's like your editor, your agent, your wife, and Gordon, and people, whatever, people say nice things, and but you don't know how it's going to be received. So there's that. So if it's a travel book or not, there's that anxiety. And yeah, I suppose this is a different kind of book. But for me, it's you write the book that you hopefully write a book that you really want to read, and well, you better write a book that you want to read. And this for me is a book that I would want to read.
Yeah.
What's it like to own as a golfer? Like, what is it like to own your own golf course? Sure. So I'm I don't get too hung up on will it do this or will it do that. Because those things are out of my control. I wrote the best book I could, and we are doing the best job we can promoting it, and then we'll see what happens.
Well, this book is very different also in that the story continues. I mean, you get into an apple that has become a big part of your life. Your life. This didn't end with the last chapter of this book. And maybe you could talk a little bit about what's happened after the book, and talk a little bit about, just to clarify, you're not the sole owner of this course, because it took
not at all.
Much more money than you were able to pull out of your 401k. So talk a little bit about your co-investors and how that came, unless you think that gives away the book too much.
No. I think it's a fun part of the story, and there's a lot of backstory to how it all happened that people can read and enjoy. But what was the first part of your question? Because it was good.
The fact that the story continues. I mean,
and continues. Yeah. So that's the weird thing, right? Because like with all these other ones, it's like, okay, I did or did not qualify for the tour, right, or I flew home. Like there's an ending, a very clear ending. So Sullivan County, not to spoil the ending, but it's not closed. It is a proud member of the Mets section in the Hudson Valley region, and you can join it this season for our Gordon, would you believe this? Only $500, and you can be a member.
I'll take 2
of a Met. Yeah, I think you should take 2. Okay. So it's that's not your monthly. People are like, oh, is that what that's not a bad monthly due? I'm like, no, that's it. That's for the year. That's all your golf.
Oh, that's not lifetime membership?
No, it is not lifetime membership. We'll get you on a payment plan, and we'll get you. We'll draw up a bond for you. Because that brings up, getting back to owners.
About your investors.
We don't have any bonds because they all went to this ownership group. We just had our 100th anniversary, and I remember we celebrated. We took a picture of all the owners, and there were like 11 of us. And I'm like, we have more owners than golf holes. That's unusual.
And Sean's an owner too, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean has a part in it, in the ownership group. How it all really happened and went from being the book was originally just going to be about that 1 year of me borrowing a golf course and see how it went, and then if you read the other books, whatever, you sort of learn how I gotten to know Bill Murray over the years, and he's been a great friend, and he came up and saw the course, and so at the end of that first season he agreed to buy it with me and to go in with the current owners, who run a wonderful hospitality business in the Catskills and a property development business too. So they would stay on and do the clubhouse and the restaurant and all that good stuff, and then me and Bill would bring in money to redo the golf course. And then we were joined by Mike Madden, who is of the Madden football family, and who's become another good golf friend and just great friend all around over the years. And then our last partner, so we redid the course, and then I got to know, being in Philadelphia, I played some golf with Jason Kelsey and got to know his partners, and got talking to them, and they got interested. And so they jumped on board as well. So for our ownership group, it's a pretty interesting one. Bill Murray, Jason Kelsey, this golf scribbler, and they don't mow like I do, though. I'll tell you that much. I haven't seen Jason out there on the mower.
So are you invited to the
Bill.
wedding in August, or is that not part of the
Oh
ownership
dear,
deal?
that has not come up.
Okay, fingers crossed. Okay, let's talk about your family a little bit, if you don't mind. I do want to talk about the ongoing condition and plans for the course, Sullivan. But let me just get through a few other questions here. This one, as you referenced, Allison was on board completely, right?
Yeah.
So, tell me, I mean, was she living there during this? Because she has a full-time job, right?
Well, she had just retired from a long-time corporate gig,
okay.
so gave her a lot more flexibility. And she was, when I said this is what we're gonna, I'd like the next book to be, because usually it's a question of like, how long is that going to take? How long are you going to be away? She was excited from the start, because one, I think it meant I was going to be in one place, and it's not too far from home. And the kids can come, and we can have a great summer. We can live in the Catskills. And that just sounded exciting and fun. And then it's like, and having a business, okay, like, that's exciting. Like, what can we do to make it better? And I'll do the flowers, and we'll do this. And so she got really into it. And that was great. That was new, too, because, like, my journeys, like, my family would kind of, like, pop in for a chapter and then be gone.
Yeah.
And now this was a family endeavor. We were investing in this thing together. We ended up buying a home up there because Allison fell in love with the area so much. We bought a house in Callicoon, which is about 25 minutes from the course, closer to the Pennsylvania border. And it's our summer hangout now.
Cool.
So like it literally has become like our home. Which, wow, I did not expect that when I went up and met Sean in the snow to see a snow-covered golf course on a shuttered clubhouse. Yeah. How that all that's it. I like thinking back on those days because when you think about, are we doing the right thing, are we being successful, all this, that, and the other, we've come a long way, baby, as they say. The place is hardly recognizable to what it was, and it is not that credit for that. I am a small piece of that. It is Sean and all my wonderful partners who made that happen.
I want to talk about your girls a little bit. You have two girls in their teens, early teens.
16 and 12.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've kind of, indirectly, golf has been a big part of their life because their dad was so deeply entrenched in it. How has that? Yeah. How has that affected the way they look at the game? Do they have any interest in it, and how has it affected your relationship with them?
They hate it. No, I'm just kidding. They're not golfers, and it's not. But I don't think it's out of any resentment for the game or that it keeps me away or things like that. And honestly, it's enabled them to go to some pretty wonderful places. For not being golfers, they've been to some pretty good golf places. They've been to St. Andrews multiple times. They've been around the coast of Ireland. They've been to, island courses, and, because if we're going on a trip, it's usually tied to some place that maybe I got invited to or that I'm going to write about or something like that. So it's given us a really cool travel life, and we got to go to great places. So I think they're aware of that and are happy for that. But their interests lie in like music, theater, voice, dance, all that stuff. And that's great. I think my 12-year-old is golf curious, and I think we're going to start playing a little bit. It would be nice, like if one of them or both of them did decide to play. It would be convenient. It would be convenient. God, we own our own golf course. Like it's sort of like I wouldn't have to pay for golf balls at the range. So it would be nice, but we'll see what happens. I think they are somewhat. They're mildly interested, but They have a healthy agnosticism, I think, about golf, which is okay. I'm certainly not pushing them.
My 3 kids all hated golf. I couldn't convince them. And you can't make somebody like golf. You know, it has to be something that they're attracted to. So let's talk about your dad for a second. He's what, 93?
92 now.
Okay.
Jim is 92. Okay. Yeah.
And he's part of the story. He is. He's been an important part of your life. You know, how has been writing about the game, you know, it changed how you think about him or that inheritance of, because he introduced you to golf and he was your partner.
He did.
Growing up, he was your golfing partner, right?
He was. And that's why and I think anyone that played a lot of golf with their dad would say the same thing. You're so grateful to the game for the time that it's given you with your dad. Or maybe it was your mom that played, but like you're spending an inordinate amount of time with your parents as a teenager or 20-something because you have golf, right? If I didn't have golf, I'd be off doing something else and staying out of the house or whatever. But we've spent a ton of time together on the road at Rolling Green where I grew up, and you know, and then I have this wonderful life in golf, or this and he gave me golf, right? He gave me the chance to play because he played. Yeah. And so that's a through line that I tried to celebrate in the America book. And then also remember in the Sullivan County book too, like to now where you're like, wow, now my son owns a golf course. And what's that like for my dad? Yeah. And actually, and not just any golf course, but my dad's a Scranton boy. And my mom is from Scranton as well. And Sullivan County is about an hour from Scranton. So they grew up in those mountains in that part of the world, and now going back up there with them, they're more familiar with that area than I am. So that's been kind of cool to see them like recall things and have memories of coming up to that part of the world that I didn't know very well.
Yeah. Let me touch on something that is sensitive, but you talk about it and write about it all the time.
Sure.
And that's your relationship with alcohol. But a lot of writers have that story. You know, how is that, that's called self-reckoning, shaped the kind of writer that you've become?
I wouldn't be writing anything if I didn't have that self-reckoning. There's no doubt about that. Who knows if I'd be around? So, you know, I owe everything, every day, every sentence, Sullivan County, every my family, you know, all of that comes directly from the fact that I didn't drink today, and that's something that I had to get really honest about. You know, when I needed help, and then I had a lot to learn about who I was and why I drank the way I did, and it's been just an awesome journey of like discovery. I got to grow up when I was 38 years old, and figure out who I was, and terrifying, but exciting. And so like, you know, when you get sober, they talk about the rewards, and they're not financial rewards, but these things that will happen to you. And it sounds like a bunch of bunk when you're just trying to get another day. But man, like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't dream big enough. You know, I couldn't dream big enough when I was drinking, and I wouldn't have believed any of the stuff if you told me like this is what's going to happen in your life. So just, it's all gratitude, man. Yeah. And it also, like, at the end of the day, like, whatever happens with the golf course, whatever happens with the book, like, this is all gravy. It's all gravy.
Because I'm thinking, projecting, I mean, if knowing that you've overcome something that monumental, that everything else kind of seems like achievable. Do you know what I mean? There's no mountain too
100%.
high, you know?
You're 100% right. The biggest miracle every day is that I wake up and I don't even think about a drink, you know? Yeah. And that, like, if you told me that there's a point in my life where that would happen, I would just say that is that's complete. That idea is completely insane. So anything else? Yeah. Why not? And you're also like, you don't want to waste any time either. Yeah. So like if I have the chance to do something interesting or exciting, or something that, and especially with Allison's and my family's support, I'm going to do it. Yeah.
The other thing I've seen you do, which I think is admirable, both in the Golfer's Journal, and I know even it's referenced in this book because Sean had a similar challenge. That you've kind of you've kind of identified that you're not the only person where there are a lot of golfers out there partly because of the environment, because alcohol is such a big part
Sure.
of the golfing culture. But you've made it visible, and you've kind of removed part of the stigma, and you've kind of established kind of a camaraderie or a brotherhood around the issue, which I think has been helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's I wanted to be very honest. Like when I was I first write about it in the Scotland book, and I had to be very honest and say like, oh, by the way, the biggest miracle of this whole story is not that I'm playing a lot of golf in Scotland. The book would have been a half a lie if I didn't tell people what it was really about for me, which was the fact that I was doing this all as a sober living person. Like that was like I was that's crazy.
Yeah.
And so in doing that, yes, people started to reach out. Some people who were also sober, people who wanted to get sober, people who couldn't get sober, and so I still get a lot of email from folks, and that is amazing.
Yeah.
That it's not why I talked about my sobriety. I didn't, I believe, but I'm glad that I did, just so that I was living in a golf world where I'm like, man, the whole world is drunk.
Yeah.
And when you are drunk, that's how you see the world. Yeah. And so if I can, me or the friends, the community, and there is a good, nice, sober golf community growing up in all sorts of places where you can look and say like, hey, there are different ways to play this game.
Yeah. Let me shift gears a little bit. Let's move from the heavy to a lighter topic. You taught writing at the university level for years before stepping away, and I always wondered if you missed that. And something you told me a long time ago, that your plan B, if you didn't make it as a writer, was to study Irish literature. So I'm thinking that academia, or at least maybe being a teacher or professor of some sort, is maybe somewhere in your plans.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I wonder if I'll go back. It was a weird progression because I was teaching, I did a gentleman's game, then I had the chance to teach some writing workshops and in a graduate writing program, and I was young doing that. And so I was like adjuncting like a class here, a class there between book projects. Then I became visiting faculty, which was full time, and then got on the tenure track, got a tenure track position, got tenure, got promoted to associate professor. And that's like when you get to that point in your academic life, you're like, I'm in, like I'm good, I'm set. And I had tenure for a year and a half and I quit. So that's a little bit unusual. I gave it up for the security. I gave up academic tenure for the security of the magazine business. There was a chance to become the editor of the Golfer's Journal, and so I jumped at that. And at that point, I'd been teaching on and off for 20 years.
Wow.
And I loved the classroom. I loved talking about writing, and I loved it. I loved watching people develop as writers. And try things and grow as people and just be genuinely curious about it. It was wonderful. It was very, very inspiring. But you do get to a certain point where in teaching at university, like part of it's the classroom, and then there's other things that I never liked grading, so that was always a bit of an issue. And then, committee work and academia, there's a lot of other stuff that I wasn't very good at. And I didn't bring a lot to the table when it came to like curriculum committee and things like that. So I could probably only contribute so much, and I thought that I'd contributed as much as I can in the classroom, and this new opportunity came along, and I jumped at it. I would love to go back and teach a class here or there at some point, but when you're adjuncting, what we pay our adjunct professors at universities in this country is shocking and embarrassing.
Well,
so if I go back, it'll have to be just for funsies, really, because there's no money in it.
I know. I taught school for 5 years. I got out of for the same reason. I also found that I like kids more than I like teaching, and they're two different things. So let me just ask about Pat Ruddy. the owner of the European club, former owner. He sold it recently.
Sold it, yeah.
Now, you went over and spoke with him, right, as a course owner before he wrote the book. But I was curious to know whether he's read it and what he's told you about it.
I doubt that he has, just because you're of that extremely select company, Gordon, who got an advanced copy. But that's a very good reminder that I want Pat to see the book, because it was really cool to go over there. It was that first summer when I was starting this adventure, and I happened to be over at the European Club and like kind of realized like Pat, golf writer, becomes golf architect, becomes golf course owner, and my career was like following that path to a certain extent. And so it was really great to just sit down with him and tell him what I was doing, and to pick his brain a little bit. And, his best advice was just like, don't fall out of love with golf. Yeah. Like, you have to keep loving the game. Yeah. And it's an easy thing. It's an easy thing to forget when you're worried about the cost of this or the cost of that, and what does the fairway look like, etc.
Well, he walked away with $35 million, so I guess he did pretty well for himself as a.
Did all right, Mr. Ruddy did.
I had the honor of meeting him because I was lucky enough to be on one of your Coyne Cup tours, the worst golfer on the tour, but I didn't care.
Oh, stop.
But at any rate, I have a photo of him on my wall with he's sticking his cane in my ear. I was doing a selfie. Came on back of me. He's really a character. So,
real character.
Let me ask you about Sullivan County today. Is the course open yet?
Yeah, May 1. We've had people up there walking the course. I love it that we're an honor box golf course. Now it's QR code and an honor box. But if anyone, you can come walk the golf course whenever you want. Yeah. It's just we're in the mountains. It's cold. It's wet. So we will. We're open for business. The bro shop opens, May 1st. So that's when we'll get the carts out. If it's you might want a golf cart. It's on the side of a mountain. So how is the course different today from when it with the end of the book? I mean, have you added other amenities or? I would just say, the amenities that we add over the course of the book, they haven't changed a whole ton. The team's changed a little bit. Some folks have gone, some new folks have come in, and it's just in better shape because, we did a lot of work on the course, changed some holes, build a driving range, build a putting course, move some things around just to take advantage of the views and add some interest to the course, make it a little more walkable. So that's just finally like healed. It takes time for it's like, we didn't close the course and we did all this work on it, and then the next year comes and everyone's like, okay, where's the perfect golf course? And you're like, well, we don't have the budget to come in and resod the whole thing, so it had to grow back in, and now Sean's been sending me pictures, and we're actually getting a good growing season. Last spring was just so wet, and now it's just looks wonderful. So cool. I'm very excited for that.
Now this is part of a larger development project, right? I mean, 3 years from now, what can I expect to see there?
Yeah, 3 years from now. One of the reasons we rerouted the course too is that so we could open up some acreage for home sites. It's not a real estate project. Of course, there won't be like homes on the holes or anything like that, but we have a lot of extra acres, and that was how I originally sort of got the ownership group to come together and make sense of the finances, because if you're going to invest $1 million into a golf course, you're not going to get it back in $25 green fees. But if we built some homes and a lodge and some more amenities at the right time. So yeah, hopefully in 3 years you'll see some homes for sale on the periphery and the beautiful spots on our property. I mean, it is a stunningly beautiful piece of land, and so you could live there, walk out and play your golf course, fish, whatever. And I think it's at price points that are going to be really attractive for young people in New York. Who can afford the Hamptons anymore, right? So go west instead of east and come see us in the Catskills.
Are you going to expand it to 18 holes at some point, or don't you know?
Nope.
You're not?
Not on my watch. I'm a believer in the 9-holer.
You always have.
I always have been, and I write about them in my Ireland book, in my Scotland book, where there's no stigma attached to the 9-hole courses are legitimate golf clubs, and for me, that's more holes means more maintenance, more inputs, more cost, more fuel, more labor, more all of it. It's like, nope, we're gonna make these 9 holes the best they can be. If you love them that much, you get to go out and you get another shot right away, and that can be your 18 holes, and that's perfect.
Cool. So talk to me about how people buy your book and how they play your golf course or join as a member.
Yeah, we would love to have more members. We'd love to have. I think you should do all those things.
Tell them how.
Well, you can get a course called home wherever you get your books. So order it, buy it at your local bookstore, whatever.
Is it available on Amazon
yet? Yes, very available. Available on all the places, and it's out by Avid Reader Press, which is a division of Simon & Schuster. So they've been doing a great job in promoting it, and CBS Sunday Morning is doing a segment on us a few days before on May 3rd, which will be great going into launch on the 5th. So so grab the book, read it, enjoy it, and then come be a part of the club itself, because for $500 on SullivanCountyGolf.com you can be a member, and the admissions committee is me. So anyone listening to this, congratulations, you've been accepted.
They get a discount if they listen to this podcast?
There will be no discounts, but we've it's funny, gosh, that's the thing you don't realize too when you get into a business, that everybody wants a discount for this. Can I get a discount for that? A discount for that? It's like, whoa, I've never, what do you mean discount? So we have discounted as far as we can go. It's $500 for everybody, every membership category. That's all your golf for the year. You're a member of a Met Section Club. You can play in Met events. You can get a handicap through us. All that beautiful stuff. And then we hope you actually come play our golf course and enjoy it as well.
I'm going to do that this summer. So what do you move up there for the summer at some point?
Yeah, well, we'll spend, once the girls get out of school, we'll be up there. So middle of June, the whole family will be up there pretty much through July. And then I'll even after that, I'm coming and going back and forth. And I've gotten to know that drive pretty well.
I can imagine. So listen, I didn't want to end the podcast without telling the story, because I think it really showcases what a warm, sensitive person you are, regardless of your Irish demeanor. So just for context, I had bid on the Philadelphia Cricket Club has a fundraiser every year for the Ronald McDonald House, and I had bid on to play in a foursome with you, and I paid like 10-20 grand, got to play golf with you, and it wasn't my best day. I had some trouble off the tees and the fairways and the greens. So I brought my book with me to have Tom Coyne sign the book. So I said, Tom, will you sign my book? He said, sure. So he writes in it and he hands it back to me and he says, to Gordon, great using all your drives today, ! Tom. You son of a bitch. I know I suck. I have to rub my nose in it. At any rate, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
It was a great day, Gordon.
I got to mention this one thing, or Hank Ola will kill me. Any listeners are interested in attending the MGWA Awards Dinner, this is the 75th. Please go to metgolfwriters.org. It's in October, I think. It's a great event.
Yeah,
great event.
It is. I got to go this year.
So thanks for your time.